Back then, oh my gosh. Back then, it was crazy. But it was also painfully obvious that, man, I still had a lot to learn. Hello, everyone. My name is Bishop Friesch, and wherever you may be watching or listening, let me first thank you very much for being here and welcome you to My Life Through Music, a project where I talk about the songs and music that were either there at the time, which played an important role in shaping me as an individual, or these songs describe the thoughts, feelings, or emotions I was experiencing at these particular places and at these particular times. And even though this song would not be released some, 23, 24 years later, it just goes to show that partying, no matter when or where you are in the world, always has been and always will be partying. And that's why the song that represents these following memories is If You Ain't Here to Party by Luke Bryan, released in 2013. This is such an awesome and fun song. When I hear it, I remember youth in its nostalgic, beautiful prime. I think of young, bright faces with cheeks raised, wide smiles and wide eyes. I think about groups of people getting together, having a great time, guys blowing off a little steam, beautifully dressed girls with faces glowing. I think about uncontainable happiness, the spontaneity that we had, drinks raised up in the air, people being extra nice, being extra courteous. I always remember hearing great music in the background, loud laughter, bubbly voices, multiple happy, loud conversations going on at the same time all over the place. I can still feel the high fives as people walking by, people hugging, people tapping shoulders as they're trying to walk by in crowded places. I can still smell the popular colognes and especially the perfumes of the day. And that's exactly how it was during that time. And pay attention to the lead guitar in this. It is such a great riff that it sets the tone and the mood for a great, great time. It really was crazy, man. It was the semester just before graduation and moving right into that first summer. And unbeknownst to me, I was about to get another education. But this education wasn't in a classroom with four walls and a bunch of desks. No, every weekend, the classroom was life. It was experience. And that classroom could have been anywhere. Wherever we were, there was always a festive atmosphere full of loud music, more beer than you could possibly drink, and always new and fun people to party with. This classroom could be one night in a club in Tempe, and then the next night it could be in the middle of the desert, sitting on tailgates around this huge bonfire. One night it could be some local venue with a live, acoustic, band playing, or at a huge stadium seeing a world famous band, or it could be in a house that nobody knew who lived there. You're in the backyard filling up a plastic cup around a keg, meeting new people. Or it could have been, passing beers on like a bunch of inner tubes with like 25 people floating down the Salt River, man. You just never knew what was going to happen from one weekend to the next. And all I could do at this point was just show up and hang on for the ride. And like I said before, partying with these guys, it didn't take me long to realize that, man, I was way beyond the curve. Because like these guys, they had already been to college, they had real jobs, they were making real money, they had nice new cars and nice new trucks, and they had been around, more beautiful women than I could ever imagine. So looking back, this was actually the perfect environment for me to learn, make mistakes, trip, fall down on my face, and get some real life experience. And more often than not, that real life experience usually came from one of Tom Sawyer's antics like this one. So we were at a party one night. What a surprise. And I was in the backyard at the time, and I was just mingling, checking things out. And out of the corner of my eye, I see Tom Sawyer run out the back door and come to a dead stop on the patio. And he looks one way, then he looks the other, and he finally sees me. And then he walks up to me, and he's totally adrenalized and ultra awake like he always was. And he starts talking to me. And as he's talking to me and asking me questions, he sees that I'm looking over his shoulder every couple of seconds. I'm kind of like, I'm talking to him, I'm kind of doing this. And he's grinning. He's like, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? And so he turns and he gets alongside of me. And now we're standing shoulder to shoulder. And we're looking out at the party. And we're just sitting there drinking our beers. And then he says, so that's why you're out here. So I lean over to him. And I'm gesturing in the general direction of where they were, and I'm trying to act cool, And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of checking out that girl over there, the one in the red. Do you know her? And there was a group of like 4 really beautiful girls just standing on the other side of the backyard, and they were by themselves, just talking and drinking. And I was like, yeah, the one in the red. Do you know her? And he's just there, steady drinking his beer, and he's like, no, man, I've never seen them before. And I was kind of shocked because he knew everybody, right? And he's like, so you're checking her out, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just checking her out. He's like, then why aren't you over there talking to her? And I'm stammering a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm trying to figure out what to say. And then he slaps my shoulder with the back of his hand, and he yells, still trying to figure out what to say? Man. And I kind of felt like I was getting chewed out at this party, And then he's all, this ain't high school, man. You should already know what you're going to say, and you should already be on your way over there talking to her right now. Because if you don't, someone else will. Well then, what do I say at a party? He gets real sarcastic and real animated on me like he always does. He's like, oh, gee, I don't know. Why don't you try walking over there with a little bit of confidence? Be polite, say, excuse me, tell her what you're doing there, and introduce yourself, and then start talking to her. You can do that, right? Come on, man. We're at a party. Who cares? And then he's all, what do you think, man? Just standing here, staring at her, and not going over there and talking to her is better? Come on, man. You got to do better than that, man. And he's standing there staring at me as I'm trying to process all this. And then finally he goes, all right, you ready? Go introduce yourself to her. Right now? Yeah, right now. But dude, it's different. No, it's not different. How is it different? Dude, she's older. So? Who cares, dude? It's a party. Who cares, man? Yeah, she was definitely older and she was beautiful, but something was drawing me to her, man. And I wanted to meet her and I wanted to talk to her, but I was so nervous, man. We've all been there before, right? And then he goes, all right, now go talk to her, man. You need some reps. And I'm like, reps? What is this, practice? And he's like, yeah, you need lots of practice, man. Now go get some reps. Go talk to her. Then, all of a sudden, he calmly just turns to me and he says, all right, man, I'm going to count down from 10. And by the time I get to 0, if you're not on your way over there to introduce yourself to her, I swear. And then he gets in my face and goes, I swear that I'm going to embarrass the you-know-what out of you. You decide. I don't care. You can go over there and talk to her right now, or you can get embarrassed. You decide. Either way, I don't care. 10. 9. Dude, really? 8. 7. Dude, you're not going to embarrass me, are you? 6. 5. And even though I hadn't known this guy too awfully long up till now, there was one thing that I did know, is that he was not bluffing. 4. 3. Come on, dude, you can't do this. 2. All right, I'm going. In the last video, I talked about a better way to party. And what I meant was that there really was a difference in the way that these guys partied as opposed to the way I had been partying in the past. And if you've seen any of the previous videos where I talk a little bit about that, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. And I really don't need to go too much into that again, but back then it was usually a couple of us, and we were secluded, dark, locked doors, hiding, smoky room, paranoid, somebody always looking out, And the reason why we were like that is because, quite frankly, we really didn't want anybody to know what we were doing, But these parties, they were just as I described earlier, man. They were outside, open, inviting, man. I mean, the more, the merrier. Festive, all-inclusive, everybody together, having a great time. And at that point, there were no drugs, didn't need them. There's a line in the song that says, quote, "Throw your keys on the bar, you ain't driving your car. If you're here with me, that's how it's gonna be." And there were several times after partying with Tom Sawyer where he would say, "All right, man, you're camping out on the floor," and he'd throw a blanket at me, be like, "You're here tonight, you're not going anywhere." And that was something that all of these guys that I was hanging out with at this particular time really were adamant about. They didn't want anybody getting hurt. They wanted everybody to have a good time, but they didn't want anybody drinking and driving, And they looked out for each other, And not only in that regard, but also in many, many other ways too. There was no ego in it. And that was something else that I took away from these experiences. So, what's this story about? It's about the importance of having good people around you. And to me, those were good people. Yeah, we were drinking and raising a lot of you-know-what, but these people were positive. They had great energy, and deep down, they had my best interest in mind, especially Tom Sawyer. And ultimately, it was an environment in which I could learn, I could grow, and I did. I really did. And I believe that we all need something like that in our lives, no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're in elementary school or you're retired. We need good people around us. So, what is your definition of good people? Whatever it is, it's different from mine, but what is your definition of good people? Do you have good people around you? Or do you have to reconsider? Because regardless, those people are going to affect you in a positive way or a negative way. And usually, you are the last one to figure it out. You're the last one who realizes it. Something to consider. I met a lot of new and very cool and very interesting people, and a lot of, beautiful women. And I was having the time of my life while simultaneously learning more and more and more about myself. And to be honest, and more importantly, I was feeling even more comfortable in my own skin. And after that summer of partying with these guys, man, I could talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime, no big deal. It really didn't matter how old they were, what they did for a living, how beautiful she was. It didn't matter. I mean, I really was getting reps, as Tom Sawyer put it. But it was so much fun, and all because of the partying that we did, and again, largely to my buddy Tom Sawyer and his weird and unorthodox ways of helping and guiding and teaching. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do not believe in coincidence, and I haven't for a very long time. This was a time where I was moved out of a previous lifestyle and somehow, fortunately, found myself in a completely new and different one, a healthy one. And in that process, I was getting even a greater and greater understanding of who I was deep down. And you know what? It felt great. And it showed. People responded. Teachers treated me differently, spoke to me differently. And, my dad, he loves talking about this, when we're at parties or around family and stuff. And he's a real even-keeled guy, very logical guy. And when he talks about this, and he's really proud of this, he says, he just kind of shakes, his head and shrugs his shoulders. And he goes, you know what, son? One afternoon, you went into your bedroom. And then the next morning, you came out a completely different person. And this is why I need to thank Luke Bryan for this great song, If You Ain't Here to Party, and why it's right here in my Life Through Music playlist, because that time of my life, pretty much, it was just like that song, man, except for one thing. When Luke Bryan says, get their number in your phone, well, that never happened because obviously there were no cell phones back then. So there was nothing to put their number in. But, we did things a little bit differently. But everything else, yeah. I mean, jacked up trucks, drinks raised up in the air, good-looking girls, brown sugar tans. I mean, it's Arizona, man. Woo! What great memories, man. I'm going to put this song in the description below. If you want to check it out, go right to it. You can listen to it or however you access your music today. But do check it out. And I guarantee that this song will make you want to, as it says, knock a shot out and get yourself in the zone, end quote. It was, as I mentioned before, a time of my life where I was meeting a bunch of wonderful new people, having a blast, meeting a lot of really great women. But in the back of my mind, always in the back of my mind was attendance girl. There was this feeling of no matter where I was, no matter what I was doing, how much fun I was having or who I was with, a part of her was always with me, even if she wasn't right next to me. And I know that's kind of weird. It sounds weird, but do you know what I'm talking about? And if you know what I'm talking about, man, you know the feeling. And back then, even during all that, I just knew in my heart that we would be together again. I mean, we had to be, right? We always found our way back to each other. But the question was, when? As always, thank you for spending this time with me. I know your time is valuable, and I know I could literally spend dozens and dozens of episodes with awesome songs about the great time and the wild adventures and all the things that I learned from Tom Sawyer, because believe it or not, I didn't just learn about swilling beer and partying. I learned about life, the sky, stars, research papers, even though I wasn't in school anymore. Anything from Greek mythology to philosophy, politics, accidentally feeding his mother's dinner to his dog right in front of her, helping me buy a better stereo system so I can listen to music better, taking road trips to the University of Arizona to see Pink Floyd laser light shows. I learned about relationships and everything in between, and most of all, music. And I know that it's time to move this story along, and I'm going to do that. But I want to talk about one more cool experience that only a few people were there, and probably fewer people remember. But I remember. And it literally, it meant a lot to me. And I plan on talking about that the next time I talk a little more about my life through music. Well, then what do I say, man? I mean, we're at a party. We always found our way back to each other. But the question was, when? What great memories.